You know, over in Thailand, there's this massively popular radio show dedicated to ghost stories. And one tale in particular really stood out. It wasn't about some ancient curse or a vengeful, bloody spirit. Nope. It was about a simple, chilling phrase that came out of the darkness, "I am here." In this explainer, we're going to break down this story of friendship, sorrow, and what happens when a voice answers from, well, from somewhere else.
So how does something so normal, so everyday, a teenage argument, spiral into a tragedy that ends up haunting an entire family and their village? Okay, let's dive right into this.
So let's set the scene. We've got two lifelong friends, Em and Fook, and this story really kicks off on one particular Friday night, a night that changed absolutely everything.
See, for these guys, Friday nights had this rhythm, you know? They'd play football, and then, like clockwork, Fook's mom would show up and scold him for something. Usually, right? He'd just kind of brush it off, head home, no big deal. But this Friday, it was different. The scolding was especially harsh, and this time, Fook just sat there, silent, unmoving. And that little crack in their routine, well, it was about to shatter.
So Fook finally gets up and leaves without a word, and the mood is just broken. His friends try to get the night back on track, but the story is far from over. In fact, things are about to get really, really strange.
And sure enough, about an hour later, Fook shows back up. But something's off. He asks his friend Em for a ride to his family's orchard, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. Em agrees, but that whole ride on the motorcycle, it was just wrapped in this creepy silence. Em tries talking to him, tries to get anything out of him, but nothing. Just the sound of the engine cutting through the dark.
So now you've got Fook all alone in this dark, remote orchard. And back in the village, people are starting to get worried.
And that's when Fook's dad finds Em. He's clearly worried sick. He tells Em that the fight with his mom was really, really bad, and he's terrified for his son to be out there by himself. He begs Em, "Can you please go get him?" So, for the second time that night, Em gets on his bike and heads back into the darkness.
Okay, and this is the moment where a sad story becomes a terrifying one. So Em gets to the entrance of the orchard. It's pitch black, except for the silhouettes of these two big trees, and he just calls out into the darkness, "Fook! Hey, Fook! Your dad wants you to come home!" And all he gets back is silence. And then a voice. It cuts right through the silence, coming from somewhere in the dark, right near those trees. It's Fook's voice, no doubt about it. And all it says is, "I am here." Ma's first thought, this is just a stupid prank. So he walks around the trees looking for Fook, but there's no one there. He calls out again, nothing. He's frustrated, kind of angry now, so he just leaves. He rides back to the village and tells Fook's father, "Look, I don't know where he is. He's not there."
Well, now panic is really setting in. And you have to understand, in many parts of Thailand, when the logical world doesn't have answers, people often turn to the spiritual. So the family does what many would do. They go see a local spirit medium. And the message they get back is absolutely chilling. The medium tells them Fook is already gone and gives them a very specific instruction. Go back to the orchard, but you have to wait until a certain time. So at 3 a.m., what's known as the third watch of the night, they go back, and that's when they find him. Fook, hanging from a branch on one of those two big trees. He had taken his own life in the exact spot where McCorks heard his voice just a few hours earlier.
The tragic discovery was made, but Fook's presence, it didn't leave with his body.
Even during the funeral, weird things kept happening. Fook's little nephew just points to an empty doorway and says, "Uncle Fook is here." But the most disturbing part? The undertaker asks for the cloth Fook had used as it's part of the ritual, and the whole family just freezes because they realize nobody ever took it down from the tree, and when they send someone to go get it, it's just gone. After that, the orchard becomes this place of pure fear in the village. One night, an uncle is passing by, and he sees this phantom replay of the whole tragedy and literally faints from terror. Then a local poacher who's not supposed to be there sees a figure hanging from the tree, and it's laughing at him. The message couldn't be clearer. Fook's spirit is still there, trapped, replaying his final awful moments over and over. So what about that missing cloth? Well, the family goes back to the spirit medium, and she tells them it was stolen by a man in the village who deals in what they call kong klong. These are occult items and things associated with a violent death. They're considered especially powerful for black magic.
At this point, the family is just desperate. They need a solution, so they seek out the advice of a local monk.
The monk's advice is really rooted in Buddhist teachings about suffering and attachment. He tells them, pretty simply, you have to let go. He suggests they perform a ceremony to release Fuchs' spirit and then do something pretty drastic. Cut down the tree. Remove the physical thing that's anchoring this tragedy to our world.
And so that's what they do. They follow the monk's advice, hold a ritual to help release Fuchs' soul, and then they cut down those two big trees, hoping, praying, that it will finally bring peace to Fuchs and to the land itself.
So by cutting down the tree, the family tried to just sever the connection, right? Cut the cord between the physical world and this spiritual trauma. But it leaves us with this really unsettling question, doesn't it? Can you actually get rid of a ghost just by removing its anchor? Or does the sorrow that created it in the first place just linger, waiting for a new place to rest? This story from the Ghost Radio, it doesn't give us an easy answer. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it's a story that continues to haunt people. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.